The U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia struck by Iranian drones, closed. The U.S. Embassy in Kuwait, closed. Americans told to stay indoors. The U.S. Embassy in Lebanon, closed. The U.S. Consulate in Dubai, struck by drone, all personnel accounted for. The CIA station in Saudi Arabia, hit. Udeid Air Base in Qatar, the largest American military installation in the Middle East, struck. RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus, the first attack on that British base since 1986, struck. British personnel wounded. The State Department has now issued a worldwide caution alert, the first since June 2022, warning every American citizen anywhere on Earth to be alert to the possibility of Iranian retaliation, not just in the Middle East, everywhere. Iran's IRGC has issued a decree: the enemy will no longer have security anywhere in the world, even in their own homes. 2 Iranian religious leaders have issued fatwas calling on Muslims worldwide to take revenge for the killing of Ali Khamenei. This is day 14 of a war the president said was very complete pretty much 4 days ago. Here is the complete global picture of the Iranian threat, country by country, continent by continent, alert by alert. The scale of the diplomatic evacuation underway right now is unlike anything since the fall of Saigon, and it deserves to be documented precisely. The State Department ordered the mandatory departure of all non-emergency U.S. government personnel and family members from 6 countries simultaneously: Jordan, Bahrain, Iraq, Qatar, Kuwait, and the UAE. That mandatory departure order covers the full diplomatic families, spouses, children of every U.S. government employee in those 6 countries. They are being told, get out now. For American citizens who are not government employees, tourists, business travelers, expats, students, the State Department issued a separate advisory, urging them to depart as soon as possible. The complication: many airports across the region are shut, airspace is closed, transportation options are limited. If they cannot leave, they are told to shelter in place and await further guidance. The U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia was struck by 2 Iranian drones. The damage was described as limited and no injuries were reported, but the ambassador's building had been hit. The embassy is closed. Americans in Saudi Arabia have been told the U.S. government has limited ability to help them. In Bahrain, after Iran struck the Crown Plaza Hotel in the capital city of Manama, Americans were warned to avoid all hotels, as hotels may now be considered targets for Iranian attack. The U.S. Embassy remained closed. All consular appointments canceled. In Jordan, diplomatic staff members were temporarily evacuated over a direct threat. They returned, but the embassy is operating with minimal staff. In Kuwait, the embassy is closed, and Americans are told to stay indoors. 6 American soldiers died in Kuwait on day 3 of this war. They were logistics and support personnel, not combat troops, caught in makeshift office space with inadequate protection. The State Department created a task force specifically to manage the citizen evacuation crisis. Secretary of State Rubio said the department is actively working to help stranded Americans. The task force is dealing with a problem that was entirely foreseeable and entirely unforeseen by the planners of Operation Epic Fury, a regional war that closes airports and strands hundreds of thousands of travelers, including tens of thousands of American citizens in countries where the U.S. Embassy is closed or running on skeleton staff. The State Department's worldwide caution alert, issued Saturday, March 1st, the first since June 2022, is not a regional advisory. It is a global one. It covers every country on Earth. It is telling every American, everywhere, that Iran or Iran-linked actors may be targeting them. That warning did not materialize from nothing. Here is the documented intelligence behind it. 2 separate Farsi-language fatwas from Iranian religious leaders, distributed after Ali Khamenei's death, called on Muslims worldwide to take revenge for the killing of Khamenei. The enemy will no longer have security anywhere in the world, even in their own homes, read the IRGC decree cited in a BHS bulletin distributed to American law enforcement agencies. The FBI distributed a separate alert to California police departments warning that Iran had allegedly aspired to conduct a surprise drone attack from a vessel off the American West Coast against targets in California in the event the U.S. struck Iran. That alert was marked aspirational, but it was collected before the war started. The contingency planning predated the bombs. A separate encrypted transmission alert issued to law enforcement agencies this week warned officers to monitor for a signal that could serve as an operational trigger for sleeper assets operating outside Iran's borders. John Cohen, who ran counter-terrorism operations at DHS during Trump's first term, told reporters that Iran has an extensive presence in Mexico and South America and now has the drones and the incentive. Former DHS Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism Elizabeth Newman, also from Trump's first term, said the situation is extremely alarming and that Iran's approach to warfare against America is specifically asymmetric. They cannot beat the U.S. military in the field, so they do not try. They target the soft underbelly, embassies, hotels, logistics personnel in Kuwait, commercial vessels in the Strait, and potentially sleeper assets in cities far from the battlefield. Iran's internet blackout is now at 240 hours, among the most severe government-imposed nationwide shutdowns on record globally, and the second longest in Iran's history. The regime is fighting this war in a communications blackout, controlling what Iranians see, suppressing internal dissent with that blackout, and simultaneously directing external operations that U.S. law enforcement is now racing to identify before they activate. Let us document the full geographic scope of Iran's retaliatory strikes, because the list is extraordinary and Americans deserve to see it in full. Iran has struck military and diplomatic targets across 9 countries since February 28th. Saudi Arabia, 2 drones struck the U.S. Embassy. Iran's strikes also targeted the Prince Sultan Air Base, where 6 incoming ballistic missiles were intercepted on Tuesday. The base houses American military personnel. Kuwait, the port of Shuaiba, where American logistics soldiers were stationed, was struck. 6 Americans killed. The 7th died later from wounds sustained in a separate Saudi Arabia attack. Bahrain, the Crown Plaza Hotel in Manama was struck. The desalination plant serving Bahrain was hit, threatening fresh water supply for the island nation's entire population. Qatar, Al Udeid Air Base, the largest American military installation in the Middle East, housing approximately 10,000 U.S. military personnel, was struck. The base is also home to U.S. Air Force Central Command. UAE, the U.S. Consulate in Dubai was struck. The Fujairah oil terminal was hit and caught fire. A desalination plant was targeted. Iran, Iranian strikes targeted American facilities. The Iraqi government, caught between its treaty obligations to the U.S. and its deep political ties to Iran, has called for an immediate ceasefire while allowing American operations to continue from its soil. Jordan, a direct threat led to temporary diplomatic staff evacuation. Cyprus, RAF Akrotiri, the British base that Britain had authorized for defensive purposes only, was struck by an Iranian drone. British service personnel were wounded. It was the first attack on that base since 1986. Lebanon, Hezbollah, which the Lebanese government has been attempting to disarm since the 2023-24 conflict, launched attacks on Israel in support of Iran. Central Beirut was struck by Israeli retaliatory fire, the first time since 1982 that central Beirut experienced strikes of that kind. Lebanon's Prime Minister Nawaf Salam called on Hezbollah to surrender its weapons. Hezbollah has not complied. 9 countries, across 2 continents and 3 bodies of water. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres warned at the Security Council, military action carries the risk of igniting a chain of events that no one can control in the most volatile region of the world. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz said there is clearly no joint plan to bring the war to a swift end. Behind the geopolitical and military story is a humanitarian one that has received almost no coverage in American media, and it involves real people, right now, unable to get home. The 2026 Iran conflict has disrupted global travel and trade, halted flights in and out of the Middle East, and led to shipping reroutes that have paralyzed the global supply chain. Hundreds of thousands of travelers are stranded. The UAE opened what it called safe air corridors with neighboring countries to allow some evacuation, but regional airspace closures made those corridors unreliable from day to day. American citizens in Saudi Arabia, where the U.S. Embassy is closed and the government has limited ability to assist, have been told to shelter in place. The U.S. Virtual Embassy Iran, the online-only diplomatic presence America maintains for Iranian citizens and dual nationals, has issued consecutive security alerts on March 10th and March 11th. Those alerts note, commercial flights are not operating out of Iran. U.S.-Iranian dual nationals are at significant risk of questioning, arrest, and detention. The only exits are overland, through Armenia or Turkey, with specific documentation requirements that the alert lists in careful detail. An American with family in Tehran right now cannot call the embassy. There is no embassy in Tehran. Cannot fly out. Flights are not operating. Cannot easily drive out without documentation and careful planning. And if they have Iranian dual nationality, the Iranian government does not recognize their American citizenship. They are legally Iranian, and they are trapped in a country being bombed by their other country's military. Iran's internet blackout, 240 hours as of Wednesday, means even basic communication with family inside Iran is sporadic or impossible for many Iranian Americans. They are watching the war from American living rooms, unable to reach the people they love, unable to get them out. Here is the final accounting, not of the past 14 days, but of the direction the next 14 are pointing. Iran's new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei is reportedly injured, in hospital with wounds to his legs, hand, and arm from the same bombardment that killed his father. He has said nothing publicly since his appointment. The IRGC is running operations in his name. Russia has pledged unwavering support. Iran's parliament speakers said following the new supreme leader is a religious and national duty. Iran's foreign minister said America must apologize before any talks can begin. The Trump administration is discussing a potential 30-day ceasefire offer through back channels, but Axios reported Wednesday that Iran has not responded to the feelers and that internal White House debates about what unconditional surrender actually requires in practice remain unresolved. Trump, asked about a ceasefire Wednesday, said, "I haven't thought about it." German Chancellor Merz's observation, clearly no joint plan, comes from the leader of America's most powerful European ally, not an adversary, not a critic, the man who leads Germany. There is clearly no joint plan. The NCRI, the Iranian Opposition Council, held rallies in Washington, D.C. and Paris last week, calling for support for Maryam Rajavi's provisional government framework. Thousands attended, but the National Intelligence Council's classified assessment says a large-scale assault is unlikely to oust Iran's entrenched establishment. The protesters in LA celebrating after Khamenei's death are real. The regime's resilience, 2 weeks into the bombing, is also real. The State Department worldwide caution is still active. The embassies are still closed. The IRGC fatwa is still in effect. The sleeper asset warning is still circulating in law enforcement bulletins. And the president says he hasn't thought about a ceasefire. Day 14. High alert worldwide.